I'm Brady J. Phelps. I'm a retired professor, professor emeritus from South Dakota State University. I was in the Department of Psych there 29 years. I retired and moved out here. Currently, I've been teaching experimental analysis of behavior courses for George Mason University and another university. And I'm also working for the company Behavior Development Solutions, developing some experimental analysis of behavior, what they're going to call a toolkit.
Neat. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about your background? Where did you do your undergraduate?
Now, I was clueless back in high school. Mm-hmm. And of course, a well-intended guidance counselor said, you got to go into engineering. So I went to the nearest university, Utah State, and started majoring in engineering. And I hated it. This is not what I signed up for. Finally, I met someone who was presenting psychology as a very interesting science, and I was hooked. So I got my bachelor's degree at Utah State, and then I was again clueless, and I tried to join the Peace Corps. And the Peace Corps said, we get a lot of people like you. You have a bachelor's degree in something that's not really useful. I said, well, thank you very much. So I stumbled and fumbled, and then I ran into one of my old professors, and he said, you need to get your act together. Either get out of town. I was in Logan, Utah. Either get out of town or get into a grad program. And I took his latter suggestion, and I got into the grad program at Utah State and interested in experimental analysis behavior.
Tell me, how did you get into the experimental analysis side of behavior? What piqued your interest about that?
Oh, good grief. When I was an undergraduate myself, I was clueless. And I was taking a few psychology classes, and they were kind of, until a professor walked in with a pigeon and started changing the behavior of the pigeon on the stage. And it's just like, they can do that? And they can do it so systematically and so readily, etc. So I was hooked with the animal behavior and then being able to change animal behavior.
And so I'm sure you conducted lots of research on animal behavior yourself. Can you tell me about some of your research?
Well, obviously schedules of reinforcement with pigeons and rats. I've actually done some work with goldfish, trying to shape the behavior of goldfish. I've worked with an invertebrate, flatworms. They're called planaria, in a behavioral neuroscience study. I've studied squirrels, their foraging behavior, the domestic dog. For example, train a dog to gently pull a person's stocking off. Because if you're very stiff or you have some degree of disability, you can't pull your sock off. Well, a dog can be trained to do stuff like that.
And I have to ask, were you able to change the behavior of the goldfish?
Yeah, we got it to do some swim through tubes, swim up a chimney, etc.
And how does this apply to working with people? How is your research applied?
I myself have become a little more interested in theoretical and conceptual issues, topics like personality and self, and then that sort of led me to become aware of how to talk about DID, dissociative identity disorder, in behavior analytic terms, being surrounded by people who are non-behavior analytic, and they talk about things very differently. So I learned to translate some topics of conventional psychology into behavior analytic terms and ways of talking about them. And so, I published a few papers on personality and self, and a few papers on dissociative identity disorder.
So what would you say to a behavior analyst who is interested in getting into this field? Do you have any advice or tips for them?
Well, you can always get some experience working at a local zoo. There's going to be some animals there who have some odd behavior problems, and maybe you could help the animal act a little more normally. If you can make the zoo environment a little closer to the normal behavior of a wild organism, they'll behave normally, and the people who come to the zoo will enjoy the animal more. We'll see more of the animal's natural behavior, etc. Your local humane society, they've got dogs that probably need to be adopted. And one thing that keeps a dog from being adopted is if it jumps up on people. So if you can train a dog to come to the front of the cage and sit and look up and go and look so, not acting crazy, that dog has a greater chance of being adopted.
Great. Do you know of any good graduate programs?
Oh, well, yes. A good friend of mine, Aaron Rasmussen at Idaho State University, has a good experimental program. My old school, Utah State University, has a good experimental program, but Auburn, West Virginia, Western Michigan, some in Florida. But yes, you can find a good experimental analysis behavior program.
Great. And besides yourself, can you think of any good mentors that someone might be able to reach out to?
Well, I will. My good friend Erin Rasmussen, she was president of ABAI a couple years ago, or the new president of ABAI, Ruth Ann Rayfeld. I think she's at School of Professional Psychology in Chicago. Yeah, there's some up-and-coming people who would be excellent mentors.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Phelps. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed this too. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.